tend to look at everything on the positive scope, right?
Well, I mean, you look at attitude and stuff like that, that makes a big difference on your physiological body and your connection with your mind. So I think it's that, I mean, they've gone, the placebo effect everyone's heard about. There's all sorts of ways of healing the body or helping it depending on your emotions or your state of mind, your attitude. You know, some people just go around with like a dark cloud around them, and they wonder why it's always raining on them. You know,
it's true. Eeyores.
Who's Eeyores?
I know some Eeyores. Eeyores from Winnie the Pooh. You know Eeyore. Thanks for noticing me.
Okay.
Do you know Eeyore? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know Eeyore, yes.
So sometimes, you got Winnie the Pooh, who's always happy and everything's, great, and little Piglet, and then you got Eeyore, who's always got the gray cloud over his head. And then he's like, thanks for noticing me, right? But yet the people around him are happy and they see the positive light thing. So it's very symbolic on how people can be together.
Like Pigpen?
Well, I think Pigpen's happy with the way he is.
Okay. Right.
I think he likes being a Pigpen. Yes. But think about
But they feed off that negative energy. You know, and if you ever try to get into a discussion with someone like that, or you're in their energy, often a coworker or something like that, they get like empowered from the negative transfer back and forth of energy, and you get sucked out, and you're like exhausted mentally and physically. And we call technically they call them psychic vampires. They might not even know they're doing it, but they're actually sucking the energy out of you. And everyone's experienced people like that. It's just like, no, you go somewhere like you see someone, she's a lovely lady, but I don't want to talk to her, you know? Or that guy, yeah, he's a nice guy, but oh my God, no way, I don't want to talk to him. He'll just suck the energy out of me.
So live with people like that, and you'll see how your body will eventually become affected by it.
Absolutely.
Right? You know, your body will start to adjust and be around a negative, toxic person or a toxic environment. What happens is your body goes into shock, and you have certain areas in your body that start to be a challenge or a dysfunction. And I have to say,
you show the same symptoms as that person.
Exactly. And also too, like your stomach with your power, a lot of, like your body changes, based on the environment that you're in. And this is why positive energy is so important. It's not some foo-foo-y thing. It's something that you've really got to be paying attention. I have to say, most people are disconnected from their mind and their body, but yet a lot of times their body's screaming like, this doesn't feel good, or this is wrong. And this is what I mean is eventually it affects you physically. We have no choice but to stop.
You know, people, it's a common thing now. People want to be around positive people. And it's not woo-woo or anything. People are like, no, I don't want to go out with that particular person, or invite to this party because they're a downer. They're a Debbie Downer, the expression. And no one wants to be around that. So it's kind of like, they want to be around people that are positive, that are fun, you want to be around and stuff.
And I'm noticing more people, even people who aren't, let's say, intuitive or connected, although we all are, let's say people who aren't generally in our field, I have to say I'm becoming more sensitive to the positive and the negative.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I see and hear more people more than ever saying, I can't turn on the news, and social media is so draining, and the radio, it's so toxic, and I feel like people are waking up and they're feeling the difference by getting such an overdose of the negativity that now it's like intuitively their bodies just can't handle it anymore, right?
Right, because it's constant, a 24-hour news cycle, or the phones, social media, they're on it from the minute they wake up till the minute they go to sleep. And, so they're chronically...
sad, depressed, afraid.
Yeah, interacting with these emotions.
That's
and it's
why
like
kittens and puppies are so huge online. Because people need that balance.
Cuddly.
So you go online and Facebook and it's like, negative, oh, kitten, and they watch a kitten video because they...
And then they go on with it, next thing you know, they've watched an hour of kittens and puppies, right? But it's actually a dose of, feel good, You're
then they go adopt them, and they become like this old, lonely, secluded woman with 14 cats. And that has the rebound effect.
I think that's the
bad
extreme.
Well, there's always an extreme.
Well, there's always an extreme, but you don't have to go to that extreme.
Well, I think too,
it'll be a TV show on the next.
I think it's the extreme too that brings the balance, So we had to have an overdose of the negative and toxic in order for people to wake up and find balance with it, And it's sometimes sometimes the extreme needs to happen. I think this is what we have a hard time with. Like, why are these bad things happening? But if it doesn't, it's not going to wake people up enough to want to make the change, right? So,
True.
you know, how much bad needs to happen before people start to wake up and start to be proactive and be more aware, right?
Well, I think
So-
that bad has always happened,
Yeah.
but I think now it's just like I said, 24 hours, 7 of the communications now, it's in your face all the time. But the flip side of that is it's reaching more people to finally get to the point where it's like, all right, enough is enough. It's affecting me physically, or it's affecting someone I know and in love physically, and I got to find out a way to be proactive and stop this type of action continuing to go on.
And we have to think of it not as good and bad, dark and light, negative, positive, but as an adverse experience. Jerry and Esther Hicks, they call it, or Abraham calls it contrast. You know, and I like that. I like to think of it as, okay, here we are in a place of contrast, which is putting the squeeze on people because, you know, people like their comfort zone. We're not going to shift or change or grow or make a move unless we're uncomfortable. So if people aren't uncomfortable in their bodies, they're not going to get healthier. If people aren't unhappy in their jobs, they're not going to put their resume together and get a new one, right? So when SOAR says, hey, we have something better for you, sometimes we have difficult or challenging experiences and internalizing it as we're doing something wrong, when in actuality, we're getting pushed for something even better.
Right.
And
It's a facilitator for change, and what's, you know,
But
that's
they call it contrast because it's not who you are. So when people feel anger and hatred towards someone else, it's because that person you're separating yourself from that. But in reality,
that.
there's no separation. So when you have that contrast, when you have that hatred and stuff, it's because that's not who you are. So like when you're in a job that's not fulfilling, that's not who you are. You know, you're supposed to be creating, you're supposed to be doing something else. So when you do these actions that aren't who you are, it feels off. You know, and if you keep doing it, it feels more off, and then you get frustrated because you don't feel good, so then you start getting angry, and then
all the emotions flood out, and they just.
And unfortunately, you get people who get stuck there. And then that's how they learn to feel alive. They thrive off of this negativity and this hurt and this pain.
It's
But
their
yet
normal.
they get further and separated, which, you know, becomes harder
Or
for
they
them.
turn to bad habits like drugs, alcohol.
To numb out, you
Yeah.
know?
or they find their acceptance by being part of these groups that feel that way.
And if more
That's
people...
a very good point. That's
It's
a very
true.
good point.
It's because social media gives a platform for, hey, I think like you do, and let's all like escalate this, and we're all thinking like we do, whether it's right or wrong, like I said, or good or bad, or whatever the experience is. You can find people who can relate in all different aspects, and in turn that can become toxic because it will fuel the fire in a way, right? So it's, again, going back to being mindful. How's your body feeling? You know, what feels good to you, and what
I said this, and I don't want to get political or anything like that, but especially over the last 9 months or something like that, if something is making you angry or upset or stressed, or bringing out these primal emotions in you, check the source. Always consider the source, and you know that in itself is a red flag. You kind of want to say, listen, you know, this particular news or something like that is just when I'm done with it, I'm all anxious and I'm angry. That's not good.
Your
And
body's
it's not good
telling
from
you
a lot
something.
of different things. Your body's telling you, like, hey, guess what? Cut this junk out because
But then
it's
there's
not positive.
Then during that news, there's advertisements for all these drugs that will make you happy or make you this and that.
and
it-
your mind is telling you, but I need to know what's going on in the world. But I need to, which again pulls you outside of what's going on right here in your life, right?
But it feeds that beast. It's a never-ending cycle.
Cycle.
That
Until you step out of it.
Yeah.
Until once you realize that it's a cycle, then you can step out and look at it and say, wait a minute. And people, like you said, people are realizing that. Step out of the
On a
cycle
mass level.
and say, listen, hey, I'm turning off social media. How many people we say, oh, I'm taking a break from social media. People don't see me around for a while. And they take a week or two off, a month off, or 12 hours, whatever.
And they're happy.
And they're happy. You just kind of get balanced again. And that's the whole thing, is they realize that they're in the cycle and they need to step out. because that cycle is just
And
going to.
everything is balanced too, because I have to say I love social media because I have family all over the country, all over the world really, and I get to see their babies grow and all that good stuff. So I have to be more conscious about hiding or clearing like the negative stuff and really tuning into what I choose to see. So I've been more proactive in, like, let's say my social media, on what I see and what I don't see. And sometimes we forget that we have a choice, that there are all these buttons and things that we can do, and this goes on in our life too, is we have a choice.
We have a choice of what we
whether
want to eat,
Yes.
you know,
Or see,
or
or-
the whatever we're putting into our bodies, what we want to see, what we want to hear. And like you said, there are choices that you can make if you're on social media and just say, listen, I'm tired of seeing that junk. I don't want to see that. I want to see more puppies.
And I think this is why living consciously is true. I think this is why living consciously has been so like out there. Like Deepak talks about, Wayne Dyer's talked about it, Oprah's talked about it. You know, Eckhart Tolle. There's this mass level of consciousness, and in its simplest forms, you have more control, or you're more aware, you're more
Empowered.
in tune,
You're empowered.
empowered. That's the word.
Because a lot of people feel like they've lost their power, so that stress brings out the anger and stuff like that. But that you can take your power back by making simple little changes and realizing to get out of that cycle.
Yeah.
Just step back for a little bit. It's crazy. People sit down and have dinner, and everyone's on their iPhones, and it's like, really? And you wonder why there's a lot of dysfunction going on, or people don't realize what's going on, and because you're feeding yourself with that junk. It's kind
There's
of like,
no communication, and it's unfortunately people empower themselves by the two extremes. So you can either step towards the source and the love, or you step towards the anger and the forcing your power on other people, and that's where the violence comes from. And
they're both going to have reactions, and they're both going to feed the system.
yep,
But which one do you want to be in the cycle of?
exactly. And I think that, you know, for most people, what you need to do is sit back and say, you know, what's in my best interest, and not what's expected. You know, it's like,
What's the
if you
healthiest for
don't-
me?
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't matter what's happening in other parts of the world. And it's not because you don't care. It's because right now you need to get your own stuff together. And then once you get your life together, you can become an activist and do things to help those people. But if you're a mess and you're watching this stuff and it's just making you angry and it's making you dislike people more and all these other emotions, sometimes you got to pull the plug. You just got to get out. You have to know what's best for you. And
Get out of that cycle.
And I have to say, and some people might not even be aware because of, like, let's say TV commercials and music and news and the impressions that are constantly, look at magazines, you know, and the body image out there. And Kellogg's, I'm pretty sure it was Kellogg's, just came out with a commercial with a woman talking about women do this and women do that and women do this. And then she goes, and women eat. We eat every day. We eat all day. And I was like, wow, how empowering for them to come out with a statement like that. And again, so we're starting to see shifts. Now, I have to say, I don't know about Kellogg's and all their ingredients and things like that, but what they are doing is starting to shift the energy. I believe CoverGirl and Olay, they've all started with these campaigns to like counteract the negativity that's out there with like body image and expectations and women and men of all different shapes and sizes, and we do all these different things. So again, had it not been extreme, it wouldn't have been able to come forth where we're finding balance. Hey, look at foods, you know, look at how Whole Foods popped up and all these organic foods. Somebody said, I'm tired of eating these foods that are making me unhealthy. So I think if we, again, become more consciously aware of the choices we're making, we can shift these industries
It's
because
like a
they're going to
pendulum.
go where the money is, right?
It's like a pendulum. Things go back and forth, and we're at the cycle now where people are like starting to get fed up with certain things, especially about your body, because we feel like we've lost control. So feed your body right. Try to physically what you intake through your eyes and through your ears, through the social media, television, and stuff like that. And start making those changes, or at least being
And pay
aware of
attention to
them.
how your body's feeling
Right.
when you're watching this. I was watching HGTV the other day,
Of course.
and I love HGTV, but I have to say I was starting to see commercials that were like, and you need to have this home decor, and you need to have a vase that matches this, and a rug that looks like this, and these pillows. And I'm thinking, more stuff for people to buy, to fill, to just sit. I'm like, that makes no sense.
And to stress over.
And I
Oh, it's
started
got to
to
be. It has to be
feel
like this. It has to be like
color and
that.
this shape, and I started to feel like icky inside. And I'm like, this isn't right. Like, what happened to keep it simple, right? So I love like the shows, and I love, but what I'm realizing now is it's starting to make me feel like if I don't have a home that looks that neat and perfect, there's something wrong with my home, right? And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I need to get a grip here, because I'm realizing like all the subliminal messages that are coming in. And again, that's that part of, do I really want a house that looks like that, or is that because somebody told me I want a house like
the
that?
irony is that's a set. It's not even a real house.
It's true, and this is the part
But
that we
you're
don't
catching
realize.
yourself. You're aware of it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And once you're aware of things, you can shift it and change it.
Right, and that's hopefully, you guys that are listening in on this can become more aware of the situations, and it can step back and say, wait a minute, maybe I can feel a little bit better if I shift this particular focus I have, or what my opinion is on this thing, and take that stuff out of my intake, and I won't have stomach problems, or I won't have more anxiety or headaches. I mean, those are just the common things that come with all that anger, stress. I mean, that the manifestation areas are pretty common: digestive, breathing,
And I was going to say, as far as the accumulating stuff and advertising that, I always look at it, when I'm buying something, I look at how much it costs, then I think of how long it takes me to work for that, and I say, would I give up 4 hours of my life to have this?
Is
So
it worth it?
I do
Is
the
it worth
opposite.
it?
When I go into like Ocean State Job Lot, which is a discount store in our area, I say, how much junk can I buy today? I try to find stuff that I'm going to use, but I know I'm going to, I go in there for $5 batteries and I come out spending $60. So
And then a lot of that stuff goes and sits, right?
I try not to have it sit. Hopefully it's useful. It's useful junk. I try to categorize junk, real
Useful
junk.
junk.
That's like, it's going to sit in the closet or in the cellar, and then stuff that's like, for projects that will get done eventually.
Well, it's different if it's for like a project or something, but something like a vase. Would I give up 4 hours of my life for this? Like if you could said, all right, you're going to die today. You can die at, noon and have the vase, or you can live till 4 o'clock. What would you pick? Because that's what you're doing.
It's true.
Your money is
don't get
a
that.
physical expression of the energy of your time.
And I have to say, some
what is that?
people,
I'm sorry.
some people would love the vase, and if that's truly going to make you happy, and you're going to walk in and you're going to enjoy that, get it.
Right.
Don't buy it though because somebody else is telling you you need this to
Exactly.
fit in.
Awesome. She answered it for me.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like,
So I make choices. If I go into this store and I see like a shirt or something, I look at the price of it, and I'm like, my debt to credit ratio is going really well. Is it worth me adding this on, and can I pay it off, and am I going to absolutely love it and wear it? So I have to say, coming from somebody who had a shopping addiction, who shopped all the time and bought clothes that I didn't need, I'm more mindful when I go in. I feel like I'm more in control, and the clothes that I have, I absolutely love and wear all the time. So again, there's nothing wrong with buying this stuff.
No, and it's not
just simplify with it.
It's just it's using the perspective, though.
Absolutely.
Because I look at the time
Balance.
the time that I'm working is time away from my life that I'm not doing the things I love. Because right now my job's not my passion, and for people that it is, it's a different equation. But for me right now, I work because I need to pay for certain bills and do all that. So I look at it as, well, I would rather be able to work less and not have the stuff, but do things with my family.
Absolutely.
it's a
go to the
balance.
beach.
Should have shifted for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's happening for a lot of people.
It's
People
a
are
balance. It's not that
simplifying.
you can't go on each side. It's like, the 4th of July's coming and people are on diets. Guess what? I'm going to have the strawberry shortcake. It's 4th of July. I love it. And why,
But
Why not?
the difference is you're going to do that and then you'll go back to your diet.
Right.
Instead of saying, because a lot of times what people do is they cheat that one time, then they say, "Oh, I'm a failure. I
Right.
can't do this," and then they give up. It's
And
like,
they end up eating, going
No,
back to the way
they
they
just
did.
have to be aware of what they're doing. Say, all right, listen, it's the 4th of July, having, strawberry shortcake with all my friends and family, and I'm going to enjoy it, even though I have a diet, and then, I'll go back to my diet in a few days.
And I have to say, if I'm going to have that sangria, I am going to enjoy it. I'm going to love it. And I may have a second one and not think twice about it. But I'm not going to go home.
Dance with a lampshade on your head.
Never to that extreme. But I have to say, I'm not going to go home every single night and have that sangria, right? I take it and enjoy it. And again, this is with anything in this world, right? Everything in this world has joy and pleasure to it, but it comes within balance, right? And what happens is when we're filled with these subliminal messages, people lose control. They lose control of again, and racking up the credit cards, and I've got to have this car, and I've got to have this, and they lose control, and then they feel bad about themselves, right?
Well, it's another cycle. I mean, people buy things or eat things because they're trying to change emotions that they're feeling in their body. And, that dessert's going to make me feel really good for the next 10 minutes, but it's not going to really change what's going on in my life. Or that new dress or another pocketbook or something. And then they get the bill and they feel more depressed. Or they get on the scale and they say, oh, that scale's broken because it's lying to me like mine did this morning. Anyway.
Well, we're chasing experiences, right?
We're dealing with different emotions in our bodies, obviously, in the connections of how our physical body works. And we're trying to deal with that through consumption, which we have found works on a very short, time scale, but it's also brings in more problems.
and people are looking for qualifiers that tell them it's okay. If you're
Like the 4th of July when I just said a qualifier.
Well, no, it's like when you looked at the scale this morning, and you're looking at the scale to justify your diet. But if you didn't look at the scale and you just felt healthy and you felt good about it, you don't need that scale to tell you to justify what you're doing.
Right.
You don't need that to tell you, it's okay, Joe, you're doing good, you're doing great,
Right.
And
You're
it's
right.
one of those things that people look for that. And I'm not saying other people, I'm saying myself included, is that you look for these things to kind of tell you you're okay, that you're accepted, that you're doing the right
But
thing.
it can make it worse.
I
Yeah.
like that. So tonight I'm going to go home and take the batteries out of that scale, put it in the closet.
Pay attention to how you feel. Seriously, pay attention to how you feel.
Thanks for joining us tonight. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. We covered a few things we think are a little more practical tonight, and we want you to continue to give us feedback so we can continue to help you learn more about your connection with the ultimate source.
Yeah, so come back to our YouTube page, check out what we're doing, leave comments, check it out on Facebook, and just make sure you keep an open dialogue with us. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll do our best to answer them for you.
And remember, always consider the source.
Good night.
Night.
Night.